made demands to Poland that Poland should provide free movement for Germans across Polish territory between the main part of Germany and the East Prussia area, which you can see here in the north, and also that Poland relinquish any rights to the city of Gdańsk or Danzig, that the city should become again part of Germany. Poland, of course, being a sovereign country, refused to do so. Hitler threatened war. Great Britain, who by that time were tired of Hitler's aggressions throughout Europe, they announced that if Germany attacks Poland, that Great Britain would declare war on Germany in protecting Poland. France joined England in the same declaration, so Great Britain and France declared that if Germany attacks Poland, they would declare war on Germany. Germany, in August 1939, signed a non-aggression treaty with Soviet Union, which was kind of unusual because Soviet Union was communism and Hitler supposedly was very much anti-communist, but they signed a non-aggression treaty, which was just about an alliance, and in fact the secret articles of the agreement provided that the two of them will divide Poland between themselves, Germans taking over the western part and the Soviets taking over the eastern part. By August then, the war appeared to be imminent. Well, we, my sister and her husband and I, were planning a vacation in August on the Baltic Sea. And as August was arriving, we were wondering whether we should go ahead and go to the Baltic, particularly if you look at the map, it's just putting your head into a lion's mouth or jaws.
Yeah.
So we had some trepidation as to whether we should or should not go. But then we decided, well, hell, we have to live somehow. We are not going to wait for something to happen. We just go and have our vacation and see what happens. And we went on our vacation and had a very pleasant several weeks on the Baltic Sea. I have still some pictures from that period. And we returned from our vacation on August 30th. We returned to our little town, Rembertów, which you can see on map 1, on August 30th. We barely had time to unpack our bags, and we stopped at the grocery store and buy some groceries when the war started. It started on September 1st, 1939. The way we knew that it started was that German airplanes started bombing Warsaw, and it so happened that Rembertów, which is a town that my sister and her husband and I lived, was a location where there was a major Polish army base located right nearby, actually right within the city limits. So German airplanes started bombarding that military base also, and some of the bombs started dropping into the town, and some of the houses were destroyed, damaged, and it really became very dangerous. Within a couple of days after the beginning of the war, some of us ran into the grocery store trying to buy some food. All food disappeared immediately. By September 2nd, you go to the store, the shelves were completely barren. Not that the people bought it up, but rather the store owners, they cleared the shelves and were not going to sell any food except on black markets at exorbitant prices. So you couldn't buy any food at any kind of reasonable prices. It just disappeared. We lived in a small apartment house, maybe 12 apartments, 3 stories, and across the street from the house there was a big garden, and the residents of the apartment house quickly decided that we better build a bomb shelter. In the garden across the street from the house, we dug a deep ditch and covered it with wood, planks, and sand, and it became a reasonably good shelter for us. And as soon as bombardment started, bombs started falling, we ran from the house into the shelter and were staying there until it stopped, and then we came out again. Bombing was kind of intermittent in our area. In the city of Warsaw, it was pretty much continuous during the day. It was just going on all the time, but in our area it was happening 2 or 3 times a day, and we just had to run from the house into the shelter and back as it was happening. Whenever we ran to the shelter, we took with us our winter coats, because each time we went to the shelter, we had to be prepared to find that our house would be bombed, destroyed, burnt, and we would lose everything. And winter was approaching. We wanted to have at least our winter coats with us. At the time, I was 17, I was very much interested in astronomy. So as I was running into the shelter, I was taking with me an astronomy book. And while we were sitting in the shelter and some people were listening to the bomb dropping, and I was trying to divert myself by reading astronomy book. That was going on for quite a while, day after day after day. Of course, food was just not available. We were eating whatever we happened to have, maybe a couple of loaves of bread and a couple of sacks of potatoes in the basement, and it was scarcer and scarcer. On September 15th, if you look at the map again, map 2, on September 15th, by that time, German army pretty much occupied the western part of Poland. Polish army was retreating, and the remnants of it retreated into Warsaw, and they declared that they're going to defend the capital of Poland, Warsaw, as long as they could. German troops rather, they surrounded Warsaw completely, and when on September 15th, when suddenly bombing of our area stopped, and we heard machine gun fire and rifle fire, we realized that the German army was in the process of occupying our little town. On map 1, you can see that it's on the eastern part of Warsaw. So that by that time, German army was surrounding, by September 15, surrounding all of Warsaw, and we were one of the last towns that they were occupying. We were staying in the shelter while the shooting was going on for several hours. Then suddenly it got quiet, no sounds, and somebody in the shelter said, "I wonder what's going on outside." And I, being 17 and curious and adventurous, I immediately volunteered to check out. So I, having my winter coat in one hand and my astronomy book in the other hand, I crawled out of the shelter and walked up to the gate of the garden, which was across the street from our apartment house. And the garden was fenced with a tall wooden fence, so you couldn't see through it. And I very carefully and slowly opened the gate, and as I opened the gate, I suddenly stared into the face of a German soldier who was doing the cleanup operation, just walking along the fence. And I looked at him and he looked at me. He had a helmet. That's the first time I saw a German soldier in my life. It kind of frightened me right away. He has face blackened, rifle with a bayonet on it. And the moment he saw me, he immediately pointed the gun at me and said, "Hands up." I pointed out to him that I couldn't raise my hands because I had my coat in one hand and my astronomy book in the other hand. At that point, he pricked me with his bayonet just a little bit in the chest and repeated again, "Hands up." At that point, I dropped my coat and dropped my astronomy book and raised my hand. And he led me off to an assembly point, which was not far, maybe 2, 3, 4 minutes from our house, where, near the railroad tracks, where I found they had already 20 or 30 civilian men sitting on the ground, and I was ordered to sit down also. They were guarded by German soldiers. After an hour or so, a German officer showed up, and that was my also new experience. For the first time I saw a German officer, and he was dressed in a very clean uniform, just about you could call dress uniform, officer's cap, very clean uniform, gloves on his hands, pistol in one hand, shiny boots, and he had a soldier with him who spoke Polish, so he translated for him.